about myself. I've been working in the ultrasound space for many years now, about 10 to 15 years, some of which is clinical. And for the past few years, I've been a dedicated medical educationalist in the ultrasound space. And part of what interested me in moving into Vinno in particular was the rate of change and development in the product that's being pushed out is just absolutely phenomenal. And so over the past 10 years, we've had three iterations of products, which have just been getting better and better every single generation. And that's what fascinated me most about this. Now, I can definitely say that the MSK ultrasound market, particularly in Spain, is absolutely exploded at the moment. It's being used in every clinic. Extensively. And so I think there is massive, massive demand for this. And I think particularly the machines that you guys are talking about using, being S300, the R300, and the Vinno 5, Vinno 6 is very, very useful. And this will make sense in, in just a moment. But particularly with MSK ultrasound generally, what's really, really important is to have a very high frame rate. And this will make sense in a moment when I'm through my presentation. But because it's quite a shallow structure, everything that we're looking at, you want to have the highest frequency possible. And so our machines and the presets that we're using our machines are fully optimized to try and get as high a frame rate as possible. And so just keep that in mind when I'm going through my presentation. Now, if let me just get it up, share screen. Now, are you guys able to see my screen there?
It's just firing up. Yes. No.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's gone through.
Okay, so what I'm going to do firstly is take you guys through initially an introduction to the modality. So what ultrasound is, why it's important, and the key considerations when using it. Now, I know some of you guys might have some experience in radiology and ultrasound, I think particularly Ismail. So I apologize, I might be going over old ground, but I think this is really essential knowledge to understand prior to working with ultrasound. After that, I'll take you through our product range and I'll take you through specifically the nuances of our product and the way in which our product works best. And then finally, I'll take you through the utilization of the product. So exactly how you use it, exactly how you apply it. And this is a little bit of a lighter level, so you guys can all become comfortable with practicing on the product. And then in a few weeks' time, when I'm there in March, we can go in a little bit more in depth to exactly how to optimize the product and make it work best for your customers. Does that sound all right?
Patrick,
Yeah.
sorry to I just wanted to get in here.
Yeah.
That sounds really good. Personally, I know very little about ultrasound. Okay. But I see the market opportunity. When you're describing these things, can you please also bring in the aspects as to not just saying, oh, this is a good thing and it does that and this is great, which is vital, but please can you bring in for people like me that don't really understand the difference, just to say why that is better than the competition. Say this is a particular feature that is actually really useful, because to me they're all new features, if you see what I mean. So in your language it might be obvious to you, but it's definitely not obvious to me. So
of course,
please bring that in and sort of say things like, the reason that it's happened in Spain is actually they've really sold on this feature and that has been a success. And I think that context through the presentation would be really useful.
Yeah, of course. No worries at all.
No
worries at all.
Thank you.
Thank you for the clarification. So the basic concept of ultrasound is not that conceptually different to shear wave. So with shear wave, you have a machine and you have a probe which attaches or is pushed onto the patient's skin, and then sound waves are transmitted through the patient's body into the muscle or the tendon that you're interested in working with. Now, I myself am not hugely experienced in shear wave, in shockwave, but conceptually speaking, I can understand what's going on. And ultrasound is not that different. So in the end of our ultrasound probe, we have a crystal. And that crystal is essentially converting electrical energy into mechanical energy. And that is then being propagated through our patient's skin or our body and reflecting on the different organs. Now, every single organ in the body, depending on what we're looking at, if we're looking at a muscle bed, if we're looking at a tendon, if we're looking at a ligament, or we're looking at an organ, has a different reflective property. So it reflects back differently. And that is why we get the different color densities. And so what I can appreciate on this ultrasound image of a baby on my left-hand side here is that I can see as my probe is coming down here, I've got different layers coming along. So I've got this layer here, which is going to be some tummy tissue. I can see my placenta here, and I can see the head of my baby here. Now, this is occurring because all these tissues have different densities, so they're reflecting differently. And what I can appreciate here is that this is black. And so this amniotic fluid here is reflecting as black tissue because it's fluid. And so moving along that spectrum from fluid to bone, it goes from entirely black to entirely white, and everything in the middle is a spectrum. And so that is a fundamental basis across all of ultrasounds. Now we can use ultrasound to image anything. We can use it to image for you guys for muscles and for physiotherapy and MSK related applications. We can use it for organs. We can use it for obstetrics. We can use it for vascular structures. But the most important thing is considering that different structures will reflect differently. Now, if I go to my next slide here, there are numerous different types of ultrasounds. For what you guys are mostly interested in, please do interject if I'm wrong here, is going to be your beam mode or conventional ultrasound or 2D imaging. So it's sending out an ultrasound wave. The ultrasound wave is reflecting off the muscle tissue and coming back to that crystal and being shown as an image on the screen. And so that's most of what we're going to be doing. We then also have color Doppler and power Doppler, which is tracking the movement of blood within structures. And then M mode, which is tracking a movement over time. And then some more advanced features like 3D, 4D ultrasounds and elastography. The relationship between the image quality that we're getting is based on many, many, many different structures, many, many different variables. And what is particularly good about Vinno is we have very, very strong post-processing, and we have very, very strong algorithms processing to optimize the reflection and the return of that signal to give us the best image quality possible. If we go back to the fundamental imaging that existed in the 1970s, 1980s, 1990s, we were just processing the raw image data that was being returned. In the past 15, 20 years, there's been an explosion in the optimization of those returning signals to try and make sure we're getting the best image possible. And as I said, the big difference with Vinno is that we've emphasized a huge amount of time and effort in optimizing those return algorithms to make sure we get the best image possible. Now, one pillar that underpins all of this is frequency. If you remember one setting from this session, it's frequency. Now, frequency, if we remember our sound wave going through the tissue, is based up of amplitude and then the width between the sound wave. Now, when I do a higher amplitude, so about say 12 to 14 megahertz, which is what our linear probe is going to be doing, about 12 megahertz max, we are going to be having a very, very close sound wave. What that means when it goes into the tissue is that it's going to be absorbed really quickly. And so what that means is that in very shallow structures, so muscles no more than 2-3 centimeters, we're going to have incredibly good image quality. Fantastic image quality. If I want to go deeper into the body, I want to go 7, 8, 9, 10 centimeters into an obstetric patient or into someone's liver, I'm going to reduce my frequency. That's going to give me worse image quality, but I'm going to get better penetration into my deeper structures. So whenever you guys are working with ultrasound machines and whenever you're working with that product, and I'll show you where this knob is in a minute, always keeping in the back of your mind, how high is my frequency? Can it go higher, in particular if I'm interested in those very shallow structures? So that's really, really important. All right. So what's the Vinno range? What's the Vinno range good for? And what's the Vinno range really useful for? The 4 machines that I'm aware of that you guys are looking to work with is our S300 range, our R300 range, our Vinno 5, and our Vinno 6. Our Vinno 5 and our Vinno 6 are the machines on the bottom left-hand side here, and there are laptop machines. There are portable machines, and they're based on, importantly, our RF platform. And so I'll take you through our platforms just in a moment, but this is on a radio frequency platform. So what makes these...
Patrick, sorry, just to add in, we have got access to the handheld ones as well.
Oh,
so
perfect.
The handheld ultrasound devices also.
Perfect. What I might do then, I might take you through that when I'm there in March as well. But it fundamentally functions on the same system.
Okay.
So our Vinno 5 and our Vinno 6 functions on our RF platform. And what that's focused on doing is taking that raw data and absolutely minimizing the amount that's converted to an image before it's interpreted. So if I go to my next slide, if I've got my ultrasound machine here, and I've got the structure I'm looking and identifying here, and I'm sending my ultrasound waves through that structure, and then the returning signals coming back to the machine to process. The earlier or the later I convert that data that's come from that crystal into an image, the more is lost. And so what we've done at Vinno is delay the conversion of that data to an image to as late as possible in the entire interpretation process to gather as much data as possible so we don't lose image quality. And that's something that's quite unique and different to some of our other competitors. And so this is based on our Vinno 5 and our Vinno 6 platform. Now, the difference between the Vinno 5 and the Vinno 6, logically speaking, is just processing power and capacity. So it's working on the same platform, but obviously it just has a little bit more bandwidth and a little bit greater variety to be able to interpret those images.
Patrick, sorry could you just go through that again? Because that seems to be a very important point. So you're saying that you're delaying the analysis later. Are you talking about time? Is that time?
Exactly. So when my ultrasound machine or my crystal is sending out ultrasound waves into the tissue, it's being reflected from the tissue and being reread by the ultrasound probe. It then goes to the machine. Now, if you want a machine that is really, 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 really easy and low energy, you convert that data from the crystal really, really early because that is in an imaging format that can be shown on the screen. We've delayed that process happening until later in the interpretation process to keep more raw data. And so we have better image quality because we're losing less of that because our conversion is later.
Okay.
And that's in our RF
It's
platform.
got nothing to do with distance of the wire or whatever. It's
no.
Okay, I'm just for me, for sort of an idiot's guide to this. But is that one of the USPs? Is that the thing that says actually Vinno is the world leader, or what? Could you claim that? Is that true or not?
I don't think it's something you could claim. Obviously, every vendor has a different approach to this.
Yes.
This is just something we're very good at. And this was something that got Vinno into the market in the first place. And particularly, I think was a selling point for a very long time in regards to that process. And particularly what makes us unique in this sense is that any vendor could do this.
Yes.
But we have very good computing power to be able to process that without losing the capacity of the machine.
Okay. Well, that's a good selling point. Okay, I understand. Excellent.
All right.
Thank you.
So,
Sorry, Patrick, can I just ask, so you mean that our competitors, for example, you'll be looking at our image in real time because they're converting it immediately, but you're looking at a delayed image by what, seconds, milliseconds?
Oh, no. So not delayed is in what you're seeing, a delaying in the conversion of the data from a electrical format into an imaging format they can see on the screen. So it's just delaying the conversion of the data to something you can see. Because the earlier you do that in the process, the more you lose, essentially, in that conversion.
Okay, sorry, I misunderstood that. Thank you.
No, that's all right. Sorry, that's on me.
Is that the equivalent of, let's call it, I mean, to use a very, very simple analogy, is it like in effect, like a camera, when you take a picture on your iPhone, you've got 3K, 4K, whatever it is. Is it basically as simple as that, saying, look, actually, we're just because we're collecting the data and you're actually seeing it, you've just got a better quality definition, basically?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a simplified down, yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Now that is our Vinno 5, Vinno 6 platform. Our S300 and our R300 are a further development from that. And so that's the next level on from that. If we imagine that our RF platform was the basis of what makes Vinno Vinno, our R300 and S300 are the next development of that. And so we're working on a similar platform, but a little bit different. And essentially, if we interpret what I just said and we take it to the next level, I can imagine on my screen here on the left-hand side with this sort of little flow through, I've got on this side, I've got everything that happens that the machine is doing prior to sending out and receiving that ultrasound wave. So that's pre-image capture. So that's one aspect to optimizing image quality. My other aspect is post-processing. So once the image has been converted and sitting within the ultrasound machine, this is all happening frame by frame. What algorithms are we placing on top of that to give us the best possible image quality? So if I look here on my vLucid and my vLucid Plus platform, my vLucid platform was focused on optimizing pre-image acquisition. So it's a development from the RF platform to essentially make everything smoother and faster. So taking it to that next level. And essentially, much of what that was doing was reducing the time in which it took to achieve that image and just really, really, really smoothing out the whole process. What we have now and what the S300 and the R300 have is the vLucid Plus platform, which is not only optimizing the pre-image acquisition, but it's also adding on algorithms and processes to better interpret that post-image. And so to give you the best possible image quality and smooth out that image as much as possible. And so our S300 and our R300 is functioning on our vLucid Plus platform, which is fantastic. And so that's the main difference between the two. And now the reason why our Vinno 5, Vinno 6 isn't on the vLucid Plus platform is mostly because fitting in all that hardware into a laptop is just not possible. And so it's that's why we have the two different variants there. But obviously when your laptop product, it's a much more versatile machine that you can obviously take from clinic to clinic. So that's a very, very useful aspect. You guys with me so far?
Can I just ask Patrick? This applies to normal static images as well as cine runs?
Yeah, of course. So it takes both. So you can take up to 1,500 seconds of a cine image in addition to single frames as well. All right. So let me now take you guys on to essentially the functioning of the machine. So what you can appreciate here is that we have our Vinno S300. Our entire range functions on exactly the same software. So across all of the range, any Vinno machine you're working with, there will be the identical software. There will be slight variants from series to series, but generally speaking, you could be confident that the vast majority is identical. And so just keep that in mind when you're working with it. There shouldn't be any big changes. Now I can appreciate here on my S300, I have my touch panel down here. I have my 13-inch touchscreen here, and I have my 17-inch, 21-inch, sorry, screen at the top here. Now, as you can appreciate on the right-hand side, my entire table here is completely swivelable. I don't know if swivelable's a word, but I think you guys know what I mean.
I like it, Patrick. We'll use it.
It's completely turnable. And so you can turn the entire arm itself in addition to the actual tabletop as well, which is very good. And in addition to that, the screen at the top is also completely movable in and of itself to 178 degrees. So you're able to move this around to fit into any clinical scenario you need. It weighs about 65 kilograms in total and obviously has 4 independently mobile wheels, which you can lock and unlock on the bottom. Why it's good to have the 4 independently mobile wheels, much of the competitors will have 2 locked wheels at the back. It's a small thing, but when you're trying to get an ultrasound machine into the bed next to the patient, or you're trying to get it into a small clinic, having the 4 mobile wheels is really, really useful. And in addition to that, a 65 kilo weight is actually quite light compared to some of our competitors. Like you go to your Philips or your GEs, they're probably pushing quite a bit more than that, particularly on their bigger models. And obviously the R300 will be a bit heavier than this S300. Now, the probe on the left-hand side here is the F412 probe. This is the probe that I think you guys are being delivered soon. This is essentially our probe that's optimized for our vascular structures and our MSK. So I think this will be the mainstay of what you guys are working with. Now, we have a variety of different probes that we sell. We have our mainstay probes, our F probes and our G probes. They're optimized to work with most, if not all, machines, and they're a really good workhorse for day to day. And so our F and our G series probes are really, really good for that. When it comes to inserting the probe, you can appreciate on the front of the machine here, you have 4 slots. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to place my probe, the probe housing unit into the front of the machine with the cord going toward the right. On the front of the probe, there's a little black button. Now, once the probe is fully into the slot, I'm going to press that black button and then the probe is locked in there. And so that's essentially what you're going to do. The housing unit for the probe is quite a tight fit. And so if you're feeling and you're trying to get it in and you're not getting it in, you can just be a little bit more forceful and it should be able to slide in quite nicely. But particularly with a brand new machine, it will be a little bit tighter. But once it's in there, it works just fine. On the front of the machine here, we have our USB slots. So we have 3 USB-A and 1 USB-C slots on this machine. And when you're exporting our studies, you can either export to the hard drive of the machine or you can export images directly to someone's USB. So if you had a locum physiotherapist coming in or a locus sports physician who wanted to take their own studies, you can organize to have images sent directly to their USB in addition to the hard drive, which is quite nice and quite useful. Now, these two here are the main screens that you're going to be seeing. So I can see on the bottom left-hand side, this is going to be the screen of my touchscreen. And on the top right-hand side is going to be my main screen. Now, when I'm working through this, I can appreciate quite a few things. So I can appreciate in the center here is my image, and that's going to be my real-time 2D image. I can appreciate this structure here is my probe marker, which is relevant for when you're scanning. And I can appreciate down the side here, it's a little bit darker on this image, but there'll be a depth as well. So you can appreciate how far into the body you're going. At the top, on the left-hand side here, I can appreciate the images that I've stored. So this is going to be my sort of essentially memory loop of all the images that I've taken. And that's going to be live updating as I'm acquiring images. So if ever you have a customer who essentially is like, I'm taking images, I'm pressing the button, but nothing's coming across, ask them to have a look on the left-hand side. And if as they press the button, there's more images coming down the side here, then it means you're acquiring them. And I'll take you through the buttons to do that in just a moment. But let me get my screen out of the way here. Now, on the right-hand side, I can see all these numbers here. I can see my HAR, which is my harmonic imaging. I can see my frequency, and I can see my frame rate. These numbers are always going to be here, and they're giving you information about essentially the scan that you're working, the scan that you're doing, and the scan that you're performing. Your mechanical index is up here, and your thermal index. Now, obviously, for shockwave, it's something you're very interested in manipulating. For the most part in diagnostic ultrasound, that's going to remain very stable. And in addition to that, on the right-hand side there, it's telling me what probe is connected into the machine. So this is an F25C probe, and it's on an abdominal preset, which is also very important. Now, if I come down here to my lower screen, this is my nominal lower screen. And this is where I'm going to be working with the machine. So on the right-hand side of the screen here, I can appreciate all my probes that are connected into the machine. So in this instance, I have a transvaginal probe, I have a linear probe, I have a cardiac probe, and I have a linear probe. Within this down here, I have all of my presets. And whilst many, many, many vendors have presets, it's a normal part of an ultrasound machine. We are absolutely 100% universal in our ability to create as many as we want, as few as we want, and manipulate as many variables as possible. So you have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 physiotherapists in a clinic who are using a machine. We can create a preset for every single one of them. And so they can go straight onto the machine. And if you have Jenny, the physiotherapist, on a Tuesday, she can walk straight in, pick the probe, and pick the preset that she's interested in. And all those settings every single time will be saved for her to come back to. Now, on the lower part here, I can appreciate there's a few other settings here. And this is something I can go through a lot more in depth when I'm with you guys in March, and essentially how to optimize the machine and get the best out of the machine. Now, nominal presets like this MSK deep, musculoskeletal, lower venous are optimized from the factory. And so nominally speaking, if you had a clinic that was quite casual, quite chill, they just wanted a good high functioning machine, I would recommend to them just to use the factory preset settings, which are optimized for the purpose of scanning and for the general user. But obviously we can change that as necessary. Now on the left-hand side here, I have a lot more buttons which I can add to and I can change. I can bring in and out as many as I want. I can pick my body pattern. And so I can place a little cursor on the screen as I'm acquiring to essentially indicate where I am on the body. So if I'm on the quadricep, I can just do a lower leg and then indicate that that's where I am on the body, in addition to a few other settings. Any questions there? All right. So what I'm now looking at here is a top-down view of essentially the workhorse, which is the S300. On my upper point here, I have my screen, which is that screen just here. Coming down the left-hand side, I have 3 probe holders and gel holders, so I can place my gel bottle in there. And across the left-hand side here, you can see my power on button. Now, power on for this machine should be about 55 seconds to the point of pressing the button to being able to start scanning. So it should take about 30 seconds of the Windows system in the background booting up, and then about 15 to 20 seconds to get everything configured. And that's sort of on par with our competitors when it comes to boot up time. Now the battery for this system can be anywhere up to 6 hours of scan time, depending on the battery configuration you go for. But as far as I'm aware, the nominal battery that comes with this product is about 30 minutes. So it's good enough for a few patients, but if you were to get the nominal battery size, you'll need it plugged into the wall. But the larger batteries can be up to 6 hours. Yeah.
This is, we're talking about the S300 battery.
Yeah.
We haven't received that one. Where would the battery go? The back of the CPU, or?
As far as I'm aware, it's something that's ordered from the factory. Eric may be able to give you a bit more clarification, but it's something ordered with the product from day one.
Okay. Yeah. It's not something that we can take, because I appreciate the V series. I got the battery from the box and I inserted it, and we know we can have a look at it. But in terms of how to access, is that something the engineers access the battery? Because it doesn't seem to be quite straightforward where the battery is.
Yeah, it's something I can't speak to exactly. But what I can do is I can make sure that that Daniel can take you guys through that when he does his training session with you as to how to take out the battery and how to change it for something else, should that be necessary.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So then coming down onto the workflow here, we have our main knobs over the top here. So the most important knob that we can see here, going from right to left, is our 2D knob. And that's essentially, if you press that knob down, it's going to take you back to your nominal 2D imaging. So if you're ever working with the machine and you're like, I don't know what's going on, I don't know what settings I'm in, I don't know where I've gone, press that 2D knob and it'll take you back to conventional basic imaging. Coming across the top, I have my color flow here. I have my pulse wave Doppler, my M mode, and then my rotational and steering of the image. Coming down the side here, I then have my harmonic imaging, which is my amplification image, which is going to be used mostly in your MSK. It's going to be nominally on in most of the presets. Our 4D and our pulse Doppler imaging, in addition to some other Doppler settings. What is really, really unique about this product here is that we just basically have it's very simple for users. Am I sending the image to the hard drive? Am I sending it to the USB, or am I sending it to the printer? There's no faff about what does this acquisition button do? What does it mean? Do I need to change it? Has it changed from preset to preset? I essentially press that. I know it's going to the hard drive. I press that. I know it's going to the USB, so on, so on. So that's really, really useful and makes life much, much easier. Now, across on the left-hand side here, I do have some multi-function buttons, my P1, P2, which I can manipulate to be whatever I want, whatever action I want in the machine, freeze, acquire, cine loop, whatever I want it to be, can come from these two buttons just here. And then around my trackball here, which is a movable trackball, I have some other buttons with enter, cursor, and whatnot from there. But that's my basic functioning on my machine. Now on the front, I have a USB slot, but I also have a USB slot under this black rubber structure just here. I lift that up and I can place a USB straight into there. Any questions from that functioning? No, good. All right. So these are the other screens and other utilization functions that are really important. So on my top left-hand side here, I have my enter patient details. So I'm going to achieve that on my front screen if I come back to here. But on my left-hand side here, pressing new patient. So down here, I press new patients on my basic screen, and I'm going straight into placing my patient details. Now, for your users, I'm not too familiar with the workflow of physiotherapy and ultrasound. We can add in work lists. So then all of their patients on their work list are coming straight into the machine, and then they can pick that patient straight away and then just start scanning immediately. Alternatively, they can add in the details individually. So add in first name, last name, and then the type of scan that they're doing. And then all that is saved, all the images are saved under their name within their hard drive or USB. This screen coming down here is also a very important one. It's the review image screen. And so if I come back to here again, I can go back to my archive or review image screen. And then I'm coming to this screen here, which allows me to review all of the patients that are either in the hard drive or in the USB. So I have local data here, USB just here. And then I can choose that and go through and review any structure that I want and take measurements retrospectively. So once that data has been acquired within the system, I can go back and play with that data as much as I like. And then finally, on the right-hand side here, I have a reporting sheet as well. And just in all of these instances, the general template is going to be most useful as it's going to just allow all the measurements I've taken to come across onto the reporting system there. All right, guys, any questions?
Thank you, Patrick. I've got a few. With the S300, when it comes to, you talked about the work list for clinics that are doing quite a bit of, they might benefit from that. So that's pulling from RIS, or if they have like a database from hospital. What about their packs? Are they able to send that to packs afterwards?
Oh, most definitely.
How does that compare to the portable V5 and V6 in terms of differences?
It's identical. And so obviously you can save to hard drive USB, and then from there you can send directly to whatever packs you're interested in. And so we can set up groups of packs. So if we had multiple servers we wanted to send to, we can go send to a group, or we can send to an individual server, which is no issue. In addition to that, with the workflow, we can set up the workflow independently or the work list of the pack system, but that can just be fed in directly from whatever software they're using.
And to create a profile for different practitioners, the apps have to be there, or can we train the people to be super users and they can do themselves?
Yeah. So they can do it themselves. As far as the process goes to make new software, it's probably 3 or 4 clicks, and then you can add those straight in. And so you essentially copy a previous preset, a nominal preset, make it your own, change the settings that you want. So then see a patient, change the settings that you want, and let's go save preset. And then it's saved for life.
You never started from scratch. That's a good one. And the last one I have in terms of licensing, when I went to yesterday, just briefly, because I just got out of the box, I went to the settings and a lot of things to say that you don't have the licensing yet. We have a box of USBs that came with the shipment. Where do you find those licensings to plug it in to activate them?
So the licenses are all just done by code, and so we can get those codes from the factory. I'm not sure exactly what you've agreed with Eric, but as far as showing you those products, we can just pop a code in and it comes up on the machine straight away.
Okay.
So it's not USB, it's just a code we get from the factory.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you, thank you. Some more questions.
Any more questions, guys?
We did get a few little USBs from in a small box. We were wondering what those were for.
Oh, okay. So I suspect they're probably different forms of upgrades that we can do. But as far as the actual additional tools, that all just comes through a number we get from the factory. But those USBs, I suspect we can just do some more upgrades on the machine. Yeah.
Just one last question for me. Sorry. If I were to sort of, other than the software capacities of the difference between V5 and V6 and the ability to do the vessel assist, what other key differences would you say between the laptop-based differences?
That's probably the biggest difference between the V5 and the V6 is the decibel range. And so if we imagine that our probe, say our 412 probe, is taking a variety of grayscale. So every single black and white pixel that we can see on the screen, it has a range of about 260, the V6, compared to about 230 to 240 on the V5. And so the range of color that you can see on the screen is a little bit less. And so in addition to that, the storage that we have on the V5 is a little bit less as well. And the upgradable storage is also reduced. And so as far as the basic functioning of the machine, it's identical, but just the bandwidth and the capacity of the V5 compared to the V6 is less.
Thank you. And I'm looking forward to having hands-on training with you in March. But do you have features like auto-delete? Some clinics are quite busy. When the parameters, some of the systems I worked on, MR and CT and X-ray, when we get to like 50%, we program it to auto-delete. Do you have something like that on the maybe the cuts or?
Yeah, we do. So once we can normally set up, so once it's sent to the PAC system or once it's sent to wherever the end user would like the images to go, we can organize that for it to be auto deleted. That's fine. Any more questions with regards to what makes Vinno say different? I hope I was able to integrate that as much as you were looking for, Chris. But any other sort of questions with regard to that, like the marketing aspect?
Just one from me, Patrick. I don't know if Eric's mentioned to you, but we have a contract with one of the large hospital chains in the UK. Called Circle Health, and we've had that contract now for about 8 years with Shockwave. Now we are in the process of renewing that contract, and with that, I've had the opportunity to position Vinno with the hospital chain. Now they're currently extensively using GE, and have been for many years, but they're having a few questions about continuing with them for various reasons. I think cost and support and what they're getting. So I have dropped Eric a note and he's come back to me this morning, but I just wondered whether you had any comparison information that I could share with them. I know Eric's asked me to get some information from them, but the window of opportunity is quite short, and I just want to put something in front of them that makes them stand up and consider moving some of their business.
So I can say one thing straight off the rip. Usability of the machine. So fantastic machine, very good. The usability of our machine is 10 times what they are. Massive. Like when it comes to training a new user or a new physiotherapist or anyone on our machine, it's a much, much more simpler platform. And so when it comes to adoption of the software and it comes to adoption of using the technology, the Vinno machine is far superior in that aspect. That comes down to personal preference. There'll be some people who might completely disagree. but I would say for new users, that's a very significant thing. When it comes to musculoskeletal imaging, particularly with our post-processing in our Vivid vLucid Plus platform, it gives us very, very strong near-field image quality. And so because of our harmonic imaging, we're increasing the ability of our probe, particularly our linear probe, to go from about 12 megahertz to about 18 megahertz. Now, that's not unique across vendors, like most vendors are doing that to some extent. That our near-field post-processing is giving us some of the best musculoskeletal near field imaging in the market by quite a margin. And again, that's subjective. You take that to your customer, they might go, "No, I prefer the look of my GE." But I can definitely say from working with customers in Spain and working with many other musculoskeletal customers in Germany as well, they're finding the image quality and the Vinno far, far better.
And do you have that feedback anywhere that we can look at? Has there been any surveys done with those customers in Spain?
No, I can't say there's been any surveys done, but what I'll do is I can reach out to the lead there who's been working within the musculoskeletal space for years, and I'll get that from him.
Patrick, just to sort of reiterate this, Johnny, how many hospitals have Circle Health got? 50 odd, is it?
So they've got 56 sites now, and they are growing. They've been taken over recently by I think a Middle Eastern investment company who are very much about cost and efficiency. So it's a big opportunity for us and for Vinno, to potentially get through the door. These opportunities come about once every 10 years. So I think we've all got to really look at this seriously and see what we can do to persuade them to consider working with us.
So one more thing I could add to that in the context of this, there are many, many vendors who segment their product based on specialty. And so you'll take an obstetrics gynecology product that cannot be used outside of obstetrics gynecology. It's not permitted. You then have a cardiovascular system. You then have a musculoskeletal system. Our system can be used in every specialty and can have any probe taken to it and used in that setting. And so if they were to have 50 clinics across the country, our machine can be used across any specialty. So if they only had musculoskeletal clinics Monday to Thursday and they wanted to get used to that machine on a Friday in their cardiac setting, they could take that machine and use it there.
I mean, Patrick, that is like a little bit of, special bit of gold dust for selling perspective, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I was trying to get out of this meeting. That is a massive selling point. And even if they don't quite do it now, because they're not set up like that, it's still a huge selling point.
Yeah.
Can I just really reiterate this, that, it took us 10 years to get the opportunity for the Circle Health, right? To have a status. And now we're in there for 8 years. Just to sort of really bang it home here, we are genuinely lucky, I think is the right word, that we've suddenly squeezed in the Vinno opportunity into this. And having worked with Circle Health here, they've actually been incredibly loyal, haven't they, Johnny? I mean, we've done a good job, to be fair, and we've given them great pricing. I mean, that's our job. But, we've built a fantastic relationship. So what I'd love to be able to do is we've got one chance to put this forward into our tender. And Johnny has done a fantastic job, I have to say, of allowing them to trust us to put a new product into the tender or into the documentation. So what would be brilliant is if we could have almost like a knockout bit of information where we're saying, here is Vinno, this is why it works, these are the applications, this is what it is. So Johnny can leverage his sort of huge relationship to say, guys, genuinely look at this, right? So rather than sort of creep it through, it needs to be a knockout punch. And if you can sort of get something in writing that we can use, whether it be from the Spanish or the Germans or whatever, just to give that real bit of credibility where we can say this is where it's at. Suddenly we've got a minimum 50, possibly 100 unit opportunity over the next few years, which is, it won't come round again.
I agree. Just to add to that, whilst we're talking here about MSK, they have multiple departments within the hospitals. So, the opportunity with Circle Health is bigger than just MSK. So, there's a lot to go at. They at the moment are solely GE supplied. So I think we've got 4 weeks probably to be able to put something to them before we resubmit our new contract proposal. But it would be really good to be able to have some direct comparisons with GE. I'll obviously speak to their team and ask for the information. But if you've got any ready-made comparisons already across the different specialties, I think that would be very helpful for our proposal.
Can I just say to really reiterate this point? We know that Venn Healthcare are the best in the business in terms of support, maintenance, and education. We know that because we are wildly better. Now, I don't know the ultrasound setup and how strong GE is, albeit I have absolutely no doubt that they will be much more expensive than us. Okay. Now, we are flexible. We can build and move whatever we need to. So we're very, very confident in what we do. And I think the message that I want to give to all you guys at Vinno here is Circle Health have got a sole supply arrangement with GE because they've gone across all of the different modalities. If we between Vinno and Venn Healthcare have got the opportunity to put a package together that I think will be commercially and operationally almost irresistible, I have to say, because I bet you. Huh?
Hi, Chris. This is Eric speaking.
Hi,
so,
Eric.
if possible, may we know which model G is they are using? G, which model is it? Then we can ask our product specialist to prepare a comparison sheet. Then you may know the major difference between Vinno products and G.
Yeah, we can ask that, Eric. I've got an email communication with the procurement team, so I'll ask that. But it was just, if you guys have already got some comparison information that you've done in the past, that would
yes,
be
we
that
do.
would be useful.
We do have some comparison with certain GE models like Voluson E8 or Logic series, but different model has a big gap. So it's better for us to know which exact model they are using, then we can tell the exact difference. But I can share with you the document or the materials we have right now.
Please.
Eric, sorry, Johnny. Just Eric. Just to let you know, the procurement person in Circle Health is one of the most busy people. Everybody's busy, but she seems to be understaffed and unbelievably busy. So the less we ask them, the better. Of course, we'll ask them the question, but it might take her 2 or 3 weeks to come back with any information. So what is the right way to do this is if we've got anything that we can say for this model, here's the comparable and here's the benefit. And then we can say, and if you supply us all of your other information, we can prepare another document that goes through the full thing. But what I don't want to do is to ask them a question because we've only got 4 weeks and it takes 2 weeks to come back and then we're all rushing around. So the more information you can give us, the better it is. And just one other point that I do want to make on that is that from a commercial perspective, there is an opportunity, I think, to, in effect, take out GE completely and replace it with Vinno. Now, that will take a little bit of time, and they'll have to test it, and they'll have to do this, and they'll have to do that, and they'll have to do the other. But the opportunity is right staring us in the face. And because they've got new owners in their business, they are looking to make those savings right now. So it's a great opportunity. So the more information you can give us, the better.
I understand, Chris. I will provide you as much information as we can, as we have right now. I think this is a very good opportunity for us. But as James said in the email, GE is very strong in the ultrasound market. It's a leader actually in the ultrasound market. They have very big marketing recognition. So I believe it will take some time to take them out from the market. The ideal solution that we would propose is we can maybe find some key opinion leader in the hospital. We can show them our machine and ask for their feedback. I think the image quality is the most important thing that matters in ultrasound. To compare with GE, our biggest advantage, as Patrick said, is the workflow we have, the price, of course, and the image quality and the frequency of the linear probe. And the selection, we have more selections of the probes than GE. We offer more flexible solutions. These are our advantages.
Eric, if somebody was to ask the question, what is the image quality of a Vinno system compared to GE, what would be your answer? How would you reply to that if somebody
for
was...
the image quality, definitely we have better resolution in near field because of the high frequency. And for the color sensitivity is also another point that we can say we have better color sensitivity.
Yeah.
Okay. So what would be it like for like positioned one next to each other? What would be the pros and cons of a GE system over a Vinno or a Vinno over a GE? What's the key differences today after so many updates from Vinno?
Actually, it's hard to say because GE, as far as I know, GE is not focusing in MSK market. They're mainly in OBGYN and radiology and general practice. So for the MSK and the physiotherapy market, we are stronger than them in terms of the resolution in near field and the penetration in far field. So this would be the answer.
Okay. So really, their branding and position in the market is their advantage, but in terms of quality and what we can offer, we are better, you would say?
When it comes to near field imaging and our color Doppler, unequivocally, it's the Vinno product is a superior product. Obviously, the difficulty in this comes down to subjectivity. If you've got a cohort of workers who have worked on G for a long time, they may have a different perspective because they're used to the appearance of a GE machine. However, when it comes to near field and color Doppler, we're providing a better product in particular.
Okay, these are good points to know.
I think to really reiterate, the workflow in our machine, like I've worked in ultrasounds 10, 12 years now clinically. The workflow on the Vinno machine is simple. It is simple and it is basic and it is good. And it's not complicated. And I think that's a massive selling point. You may have someone who's worked in the market for 30 years, understands a GE machine like the back of their hands, but for a general day-to-day user who might be going from clinic to clinic, who might only be working a few locum shifts, who might be flying in, flying out, the Vinno machine is a much better machine to use.
Okay, is that the same for the other big players like Samsung and Siemens? Would you say the same?
Yeah. Samsung is probably the most. It's a complicated machine to use. Same as Siemens, and the same as not so much Philips. Philips is a bit simpler, but particularly Siemens and Samsung, very complicated to use.
Okay. These bits of information are really helpful for us, at this stage. So if there is anything that you can share on those as well, that's very helpful.
I think that,
with Shockwave, we've had from the manufacturer before comparisons with the other suppliers on the market, like for like, which if the question comes up, is very helpful to be able to compare and look at the features and benefits of each. So that information is helpful.
Yeah, well, we can get that. That's fine. I think one more thing to add is I know anecdotally, I've got a very good friend who's the head of cardiology in Manchester Royal Infirmary, or Manchester. They have a strategic push to try and remove GE from being the dominant player within the NHS. And so there is a push at the moment to try and remove having a sole vendor across the entire NHS and have more variety coming into the system. And so I know there is an appetite at the moment. Anyone who's NHS based as well is well aware of this.
I think that's the same position as Circle Health. I think they somewhat feel backed into a corner a little bit by the demands being put on them, which is why this opportunity is here for us. Okay, very good. One final question I've got. You mentioned about the systems being compatible in any department. Would there be any argument to say that in a certain department, let's say gynecology, a more specific gynecology device from another company would be better, or is the quality still going to be up there?
I would say within that sense, I think our 2D image quality is on par with your obstetric and gynecology GE systems. Our 3D system is probably a little bit more rudimentary in that sense. So that's not a selling point, to be completely frank with you. But as far as our 2D image quality goes and our transferability across departments, particularly cardiology as well, vascular, our machine can work in any department quite easily.
Okay, that's good. Sorry for all the questions, Patrick. But
no, that's what I'm here for.
There'll be plenty more when you come over.
Can I ask one more question? Sorry, Patrick. Do you know much about the brand Alpion? I know that's a Chinese product, but one of our main competitors for Shockwave here sells the Alpion brand.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Alpinion. Sorry, do you know much about the brand Alpinion? I know it's another Chinese product. One of our main competitors in this market sells that device, and we will be directly competing with them at some big expos this year. So it was just to know more about that brand.
I can't say I'm familiar with it myself, but Eric's a bit more knowledgeable of the market generally. Are you familiar with this product? Eric?
Lost him.
Okay. I don't know specifically, but let me do some reading up and I'll speak to Eric and some of the team in Shanghai and see.
Hi, sorry. My connection is not so good here. So with Opinion, we don't have much competition with Opinion. Do you know which model you are competing with?
I can find out for you. Yeah, they sell several models.
Yeah, we used to have some comparison with Opinion E-Cube X60 or whatever. I don't remember exactly the name. If you can find out which model it is, maybe we can get more information.
Yeah, the X-Cube i8 and the X-Cube i9
and the Mini Sono.
Mini Sono.
And the X-Cube, the cart systems, X-Cube 60.
The cart-based system.
Yeah, all of them, handheld, portable and cart-based. It looks like they sell the full range.
Okay, so first of all, Opinion is, we know Opinion is good for abdominal image and obstetric. But for linear, last year, we made a comparison in the Netherlands with Opinion. Basically, for the linear probe, we are still better than them. They have their advantage in the abdominal. So in general, I would say it's a comparable product.
So for MSK,
thank you.
That's good.
Yeah.
So for MSK, we are definitely better than Opinion because in every country in Spain, in the Netherlands, Opinion is never strong or never good for the MSK. They're good for obstetrics. Even in Germany,